Hello, lovelies. So today we're going to be talking about myths that are often told to gardeners or that gardeners believe for some reason or another, and they're myths, so we need to stop doing them. Have you ever been told that you need to clean up your whole garden before winter? Or have you just thought, I need to tidy this up because I don't want to have a big mess on my hands come springtime? Anyway, that is a total myth. Do not clean out your garden before spring. It's super tempting to clean up all these plants before spring so that you're just ready to rock and roll when spring comes around. But don't do it, because this mess right here is protecting your beneficial insects, your pollinators, your parasitic wasps. All those really good bugs are going to be hibernating in these plants over the winter, and if you cut them down now and get rid of them, you're getting rid of a whole world full of bugs that are going to be great for your garden next year. And not only that, but these seed heads, do you see these? These seed heads are going to be feeding the birds over the winter, and they need this food. If you want to have abundant birds in your garden, which I promise you do, because they're going to be coming in here, they're going to be eating those pests that you don't want next year. You want to have a thriving bird life. Make sure you leave your seed heads on. Make sure you leave your plants in. And then also on top of that, when you leave your plants in your garden beds over the winter, it protects the soil life too. Those roots are rotting in the ground and they're adding food for the worms. The soil is covered because there's already plants on it, so you don't have to worry about the sun sterilizing your dirt, which it will if your dirt is exposed. All those beautiful microorganisms and bacteria and the mycorrhizal fungi, everything in there is going to be sterilized and killed. So don't do it. Leave those plants in. Keep your soil protected. Keep those in for the bugs. Keep them in for the worms. Keep them in for the birds. It may not be the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. I kind of like it when I see the plants covered in snow in the winter. I love that. Seeing my sleeping garden. Anyway, keep those in and your garden will thank you next year. And while we're thinking about it, guys, now's the time that you want to hit the subscribe button. Don't forget, that's myth number 1. Don't clean everything up before winter. Leave it there. Leave it messy. If you want to clean up your paths, do that. That's what I did. But your garden beds, leave them full. Another myth that gardeners are told, or sometimes we just believe ourselves, is that you need to cut everything back before winter. Now, this is not what I'm talking about with like the gardens and cleaning up your garden beds and getting everything out of that. I'm talking about things like echinacea, your mums, cutting them back down so that they're close to the ground level. Now, you are going to want to cut back like catmint and things like that, but not all your herbs, not all your perennials are going to want to be cut right now. A lot of them want to be left standing so that they have protection from the elements over the winter, and that's going to make them a lot healthier for spring. So things like mums and some of your major herbs like rosemary and lavender, things like that. Also rudbeckia, you're going to want to keep that out. That's also because you want to feed the birds though. Parsley and fennel, things like that. Keep those standing and it'll be so much better in the spring to cut them back then. Not all plants want a fall haircut. Some use that plant matter as a protective layer over the winter to keep themselves going strong in the spring. So the myth is, cut all perennials back in the fall, and the truth is, no, you got to be careful. Don't do it to all of them. Some of them will love it, but some of them you're really going to be damaging. Not all perennials want a fall haircut. A lot of them use that growth as a insulation or a protective layer over themselves during the winter from the snow and the moisture and the ice that comes if you get that kind of weather. But you need to be careful. And honestly, I would err more on the side of caution of not cutting back any of your perennials and then letting them go until spring so that you can have a really healthy and robust plant that's been protected all winter, rather than going the other way and cutting back all the perennials just because it's neater and tidier and looks better. Now there are some that are going to like it, but most of them are not. Okay, so we're talking things like mums and lavender and rosemary, a lot of your herbs, a lot of your herbaceous perennials are going to like having that layer of insulation on top of them. So the myth is cut all perennials in fall, but the truth is leave them with their growth on for a natural winter mulch. Number 3 is it's too late to plant anything. And that's complete hogwash, I'll tell you that right now. There are so many things that love to be planted in fall more than any other season. Now is the time to plant your fruit trees. Now is the time to plant your shrubs like your blueberry bushes or your currants. A lot of herbs like to be planted right now as well. Planting mums even. You get those mums in the garden center, plant them. Also, this is a really great time to be planting things like garlic. You want to plant garlic, especially the hardneck varieties, in October, especially around Halloween. So that's getting to the really cold point, right? At least where we are in zone 6B. So Halloween is the time that you're going to want to plant those. Tulips like to be planted in the fall, more in the colder months. They like October, November plantings, whereas irises are a little bit more forgiving and they like to be planted in September even. So, but now is a great time to plant the irises too. So plant those perennials, get those bulbs in, and then even seeds are great to plant right now. I take all of my wildflower seeds or my pollinator blends or anything like that I'm going to be planting for beneficial insects. I plant those in the winter because a lot of those seeds really want to have a stratification period. And stratification basically just means that you are exposing the seeds to cold for a good amount of time and then warmth. And that's exactly what they go through in nature, is they get dropped in the fall by their flower heads and then they land on the ground, and in nature they would wait through the winter and then they bloom in the spring. And that's what they want. They're designed to be woken up from cold into the heat and not just kept in a seed packet in your house until March and then planted. They're not going to do as well if you wait. Other things that like to be planted are things like poppies, things like violets and Johnny jump ups. Those are really great plants to put the seeds out now and then overwinter them in the garden beds, and and then they'll be beautiful in the spring. So the myth is it's too late to plant, but the truth is this is the perfect time for roots to grow. Here's one that I did a whole video on, and I've even gotten comments on that video about how, no, you're wrong. Most of the mums that you see in the big box stores are not perennial, they're annuals. And no, it's not true. Most of the mums that you see in the garden centers, most of the ones that you see in like Lowe's or at Kroger, the yellow ones, the white ones, the purple ones, the red ones, those burgundy ones, those, and the orange, don't forget the orange, I love those. Those are actually going to most likely be perennial. So if you plant those mums that you buy, it will come back year after year. Now it's going to have a better chance of success if you plant it in the spring, yes. But I have planted all of my mums always in the fall, and they have come back year after year after year. And the smaller the plant that you plant, the better chances you have. But we've planted large ones here and they are still going strong 5 or 6 years later. So don't worry about it too much. Just make sure that you get them in as soon as you can, and make sure you cover them with a little bit of mulch and water them in really well so those roots have the best amount of chance of success as possible. And I will show you mums that have been growing that were planted in the fall. A big pot of them were planted in the fall, and this is now the 5th year that they are growing. If you look at the zones, they're listed on the plant label in the garden centers, in the in Lowe's, wherever it is that you're buying your mums for your fall decorations, it will have a zone sticker on it. And if it says zone 8 through 9, no, it's not going to overwinter. Those are definitely not the perennial varieties. But most of the mums are going to say hardy down to zone 5 or hardy down to zone 4, which means they are perennial and they will come back year after year. And you can Google this all you want. But if you go and you look at those zones on there, you'll see exactly what I mean. And there's been a lot of misinformation spread about this. So no, don't believe that myth where you have to throw out your mums, plant them. So here is an example of mums that my mother-in-law planted years and years ago. And they have just come back year after year. This is was one of those pots that's half one color, half the other. They're coming back strong. Don't believe the lies. And remember, we're zone 6B here, so I mean, honestly, it's not like we're living in the tropics. This is a temperate climate, and those mums are thriving. So the myth is, you can't plant mums, they're annuals. And that's not true at all. Once again, the truth is, most likely, if you've bought a mum for decoration for fall, it is definitely a perennial. Okay, myth number 5, rake and remove all fallen leaves. I think most gardeners at this point know that that's not true. The truth is, leaves are garden gold. Mulch them, don't throw them. Take them, put them in your garden beds. If you want to make them even easier for them to compost and really build up the soil in your garden beds, feed those worms and all those beneficial insects, those living things that are in your soil that you need to feed throughout the winter. If you want them to do even better for them, make it even easier and more accessible for those, then you can mulch them, or you can shred them just by going over them with your lawnmower, and then gather them up and put them in your garden beds, put them under your fruit trees, and you're going to have a very healthy ecosystem in your soil come next spring. They're literally gold. Do not throw them away. I can't believe the amount of people who throw these leaves away. And I understand that it seems like there's a lot of times. But if you, 9 times out of 10, if you shred them with your lawnmower, you'll be able to get so many more leaves in there than you think you will. Don't throw them in the landfills where they're going to spend years and years composting. Put them in your garden beds, and by spring, they'll be ready to plant again. So the myth, leaves smother plants. And no, the truth is they build a rich and living soil. So leaves good, leaves good. Number 6, till your beds before winter. No, and yes, I understand where people are coming from. They think that they're going to add aeration to their soil. They think that they're going to get their beds all ready to go so they don't have to do as much work in the spring. And again, I love saving time, but I've got some really great tips and tricks for you over this winter that I'm going to give to you that's going to help you save a ton of time in the spring. So trust me on this. If you leave your soil, tilling disrupts soil networks. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to layer compost instead, and then maybe put that leaf mold on top, right? So you're worried about weeds, you're worried about your soil health, you're worried about aeration. Well, compost it, leave it the way it is, put the mulch on there, the leaf mold, and then you're going to end up feeding those worms. They're going to make all these tunnels, all the roots from your old plants. If you've left them over winter, they are going to decompose, and those will be the aeration tracts that you need, that you're thinking of, that you're trying to add to your soil. And you're not going to disrupt the mycorrhizal fungi. You're not going to disrupt any of the good beneficial bacteria networks that you've got going in there. And you're not going to kill your worms or anything like that. And I know a lot of people say, well, if you wait until a certain time, then the worms move down deep enough. And are you really willing to risk it? Really? Are you really? There are so many things in that soil that needs to be alive, that is a living ecosystem. Don't bulldoze it every winter, right? Let it keep going. The no-till method has been proven scientifically time and time again to be the best method for soil health in your garden. So the myth is till that soil before winter. But the truth is, mulch and microbes build soil fertility naturally. So make sure that you let that be. Add to it by adding the compost, put on that leaf mold, and it'll be golden. Myth number 7, mulch causes rot or increases the likelihood of pests. And again, this is another myth, okay? So we're gonna wanna put mulch down for sure. You wanna use your leaf mold. If you want free mulch, if you wanna use grass clippings, use that. I'm gonna do a whole video on all the different mulches that you can use and how to use them. But you're gonna wanna put down 1 to 2 inches of mulch. When you are putting them around your plants, make sure that you're not touching the stems of your plants. That's the big deal right there. Keep them 1 to 2 inches away from the stems of your perennials, especially things like your fruit trees and your shrubs. And then you won't have to worry about that mold situation happening. But that mulch is a protective barrier, and it feeds the worms, it feeds the microbes, it feeds the soil, it keeps it moist, it keeps it protected. Only problem that comes with mulching in the fall through the winter is if you put them up against the bases of your trees or your plants, and that is going to be the thing that causes rot or pests. And so as long as you're keeping them away from those stems or those trunks, it's going to be fine, okay? So the myth is mulch equals a pest hotel. No. The truth is, if you mulch correctly and keep it away from the bases, there won't be mold, there won't be too much moisture, and that's not going to open up your plants to pests and disease because they've already been weakened. Okay, so that does it for me today with you guys. That is 7 myths in the garden that do more harm than good if you follow them. If you want, I've got some really great videos out right now that's dealing with getting your garden beds ready for winter and getting them all set for spring. I've got a really great video out on mums and how to plant them so that you can have them year after year and have the best chance of success with that. I also have a really good video out right now about soil and how to build the soil health and fertility of your in your beds, in your garden this fall, so next spring you're ready to go rocking and rolling and your soil is going to be super healthy. Check those out. I'll put the links of them below. And then tell me, have you ever believed something about your garden, a myth that you heard somewhere and then you didn't do it and you found out that that myth was dead wrong? There's been so many that I can think of. I know that a few of these I fell for years. I'll tell you, I definitely spent years cleaning up my garden in the fall so that I could have it all ready to go, only to find out that my soil in the spring was sterile and it was dry like dust and there was nothing living inside of it, and I would have to amend over and over and over again and try to build up those. I ordered worms online one time because I had killed my soil so thoroughly by removing all the plants in my garden beds over the winter. So anyway, if you guys have stories like that, I want to hear all about them. Let me know, put them down in the comments below. If you guys could, if you appreciated the content of this video at all, please give this a thumbs up or a like, because it really does a great thing for the algorithm, and my channel is starting to take off, which is so exciting, and that thumbs up is going to do a world of difference in helping this channel grow. And so thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate you guys, and I hope you have a wonderful evening and stay blessed.